Welcome today. I think today is June 2nd. This is the Combat Radio Show here from the National Veterans Foundation. Today we have Mario and Louis, two of our Marine combat vets that are two of our top phone operators. We are going to be discussing the riots over the George Floyd incident that happened in Minneapolis and several other incidents where police brutality over reacting or whatever has come into our world on a national scale. So we have riots going on in every city here. And Los Angeles, as we speak, we're on a curfew that starts in a couple of hours for the whole city. It's 4 o'clock now in Los Angeles. And, you know, given my connections internationally, I've gotten calls from all over, from each continent where I have been, talking about veteran readjustment over 50 years, and people are asking me the question. And I thought, well, here we are. I want to hear it from my team. Obviously, I understand the minority situation in this country. I know that there's racism and bias. I've been in it. The only time that I experienced nirvana was in the military, because, you know, when you go into combat, everybody's the same. In the sense of your team, and it was incredible. And you come back, and then everybody segregates again, even though, you know, somebody say, well, I have a Mexican friend. Oh, I have a white friend. Oh, I have a black friend. Oh, I know an Indian. It's very shallow. It's like when Desert Storm and Iraqi freedom, all that, everybody got bumper stickers. I support the troops. Right. That was it. I spent my dollar and I'm helping them out. Like, you know, that's pretty superficial to say the least. In fact, many of you guys hated seeing that. What does that mean? Because it's not proactive. What's going on today is that due to the George Floyd incident, that people are really angry and speaking out. White, black, yellow, everybody is upset. And so I feel like, you know, hopefully this just won't be a fad like everything else, that some change, at least some education for the youth to understand what all of us mean by we're all in this together, and the fact that we're all created equal. So with that, I want to roll over to Mario and get your perspective on it, Mario.
Awesome. Thank you, Shad. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to be able to talk it through, really just sit down and have a moment to talk through about the situation, the current events. I speak for myself when I say that I really feel for the loss of Mr. George Floyd and his family. As for me, my family, my people, we take a knee with that family. But that's about it on our behalf. We'll support and we'll march quietly, and we'll be peaceful, and we'll do what we have to do to support. But I'm really having a hard time with the violent part about the protest, Shad. As a Marine Corps veteran, and then also as a former inmate, you know, and now just thank God I have the National Veterans Foundation to come to work, because that did play a very important role in my decision whether what I'm going to do today. And I'm not going to go out there and protest. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to go to work. But I spent maybe a good 30 minutes, Shad, in my apartment, pacing back and forth, not knowing what to do, whether I should go and be a support or not be of support. And then the anger from these people that are ruining the riot, just like, you know, it gets me mad. It gets me upset. And so, like, I just want somewhere to channel that energy, you know. And I don't know, how do you feel?
Let's move over to Louis. Yeah. Louis.
Thank you, Shad.
God bless you, man. We love you.
You know, and today's society is amazing in the fact that information can travel in an instant. With what's going on today, there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. I'll be the first one to stand and protect our rights and our freedoms to protest and it stops when it becomes a rape and pillage and becoming a savage and destroying the places where we live. It's unbelievable. And I feel in order to protect and to stop these individuals, the military needs to step in and support those protesters and protect them and protect life and property. That's the way I feel, and it needs to stop. The protesting, by all means, protest.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this destruction of property from the small businesses to the large corporations, it has to stop. And that's how I feel.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think also that the fact that we're battling a war right now with a virus that's going on that's invisible, that's been going on now for at least 3 months in our country, or in the sense that we've set a lot of guidelines which we're living in now, and then to have this come about. I think police brutality has always been an issue, particularly with minorities. I've watched it my whole life. I was raised in the South during the civil rights days, and blacks were considered less than human. The great thing about my upbringing that is I was Catholic, and we were considered with the Jews as outsiders. In fact, we couldn't even play sports in the city because we were Catholic, Jews, and blacks. The Jews had their community centers, so we could go there, but that was segregated from the Anglo-whites. And the blacks, which were actually the majority of the population in many states like Alabama, in the South, and yet have the least amount of rights. They had colored bathrooms, and you couldn't sit, you couldn't eat in them, and it was just there, and it was always uncomfortable, and it always, having suffered prejudice, not at that level, but enough to be excluded from the inner city society. We couldn't play with them, we had all kinds of names, niggers for the blacks, spics for anybody Hispanic, and we were God, I'm blank. We were called so many names, but it made us tough and whatever. But you just survive it. You live in that and you survive it. And then when I went on to college and graduate school, obviously you can intellectualize brotherhood or whatever, but when you throw back into society, the racism's there, the segregation is there, women's rights is there, gay rights is there. It's really, it's been a struggle. I've been blessed to be able to work in an environment where it's a mix of everything, and just like it was for me in the service and in Vietnam. And but I couldn't imagine being, just someone working in a business or whatever where there would be that kind of racial and prejudice and tension, and having to live in that kind of bubble, which probably most Americans do to some extent, depending on where you live. And coming to LA 49 years ago and being in a city that's so culturally mixed was real, at least for me at that time, was a blessing, because you had every race and nationality just stirred in this melting pot. Even though there were biases and prejudices, but nothing like where I came from. You could blend in like you do in the military with any type of gay, black, green, purple, UFO, whatever. It was really comforting for me, and it's probably why I stayed at that time. But today, when you really look at it, and I was listening on the NFL channel, I'm obviously from the South. I'm a football fan, and I like the football talk or whatever, and I'm listening to all these great black athletes that are talking about how they were raised and still have that looking over their shoulder whenever there's police or cops and anxiety. And you really got to see them, other than celebrities, as to who they are, because you know how celebrity worship is. We just
Right.
have this image, and they're perfect and they're wonderful, and we worship them. And yet they were talking about how they've suffered and how they continue to suffer, and to see this continually go on. So in a way, I hope. Now, I don't know where you folks were. I was in the '92 riots, caught in the '92 riots,
Yeah, I remember that.
up in Hollywood,
Likewise, me too.
and took me like 5.5 hours to navigate to get home that night, to go 8 miles. And I thought, wow, we're making a statement. And I went through the civil rights in the 60s and the 70s, and I just don't know what it's going to take when we talk about everybody is created equal. You read our Constitution or whatever. It seems to be a lot of words. I don't know if this is going to be different than the '92. Will this fizzle out? How will the protests continue to make change? So that's what I'm interested in. What are your thoughts about that? What might change for us to grow some? Obviously we haven't grown much since '92. Or I don't know.
I believe that there's strength in silence sometimes. And I think that this is I know that this is probably a boiling point of all those events that you probably mentioned. It's just at a point where people are like, it was the wrong way, the wrong form that they were handling the whole arrest, the way it happened. It was just, people were already fed up with what was going on in this country, and then another officer just killed another black man, and he just happened to kneel on his neck. And so that was it was just the wrong way. There's nothing that they can say now. There was no mishandling of information. He wasn't resisting arrest. They just, they were just comfortably just put him to sleep. And so I hope that I can see the violence is an outcry, and I know that people are fed up. I just don't agree with the organized criminal aspect part of it, of the looting. That's wrong. I remember the riots too, and I remember my mom clearly telling me, if you go out there, you're not going to be stealing up while I'm alive. So I stayed home because there was no business for me to go out there. So I'm almost go too. I was raised that way, and I just feel that you can no longer not say nothing. You have to state your opinion so you can pick your side, because something must be done.
I think it's not picking your side. I think it's educating and really speaking out and not being afraid to, which a lot of white folks now are doing in some big names, at least in the sports industry. They're realizing that, nothing's really changed. It's a lot of, we talk the talk, but who walks the talk, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'd like to hear more with Lewis about,
it's going to...
Where does it... Is it going to go anywhere? What are your thoughts, Lewis? Or any
I'm
ideas
hoping
of what we should do?
I really am hoping it will move into a positive outcome, a change. These words are just thrown out there, change, but it has to change. We can't go back and repeat, because that's what we've been doing time and time again. In the military, you are forced to save your brother. Meaning, you get inducted and you train with other civilians and you become one. There is no color. What only color I've ever seen is green.
That's right.
That's it. That is it.
That's right, Lewis.
Because that's the nature of that beast. But when you come back out into civilian life, it's completely different. Because there are, in a sense, no rules. There's no organization. There's no cohesiveness. There's no unit. But it's supposed to be out here. It's supposed to be, in a sense, every man for himself. There is no squad.
Right.
There's no platoon. There's no company. There's no regiment. There's no division. There is division of color. We have to change that.
And I like what Mario said. We have to start verbalizing it. We have to get active, not protesting, talking
Change.
about it, and interacting
Right.
in challenging people, our friends and family to think different. In a
I believe
Not-
voting is gonna change.
I sure hope
It's
so.
gonna change the leadership, regardless if it's from the president on down to local government.
Yeah.
I believe if that happens, at least half of what's going on will disappear.
I agree.
I believe that.
Yeah, I
like
like
that.
that too. I like that too.
You know, this new generation, this younger generation, this is a wake up call. You know, it's not all about iPhones and internet. You know, when that goes down, what do you have?
You have
have each other.
You have each other.
And you have to live with each other.
Right.
I was thinking that today when
You know?
the internet went down and I had all this stuff to do, and I said,
Oh
well,
yeah.
at least I can come out and I can talk. I got a team. We're a tribe. We're
Yeah.
actually a tribe, and that's the great thing about my life is being able to be in a tribe of warfighters and veterans that have experienced pain and joy, love and hate. And here we are trying to, with all of the scars and burns that we've had, we're trying to help our brothers and sisters that have the same things but aren't quite where we are. It's kind of like
Right.
bringing them up enough to say, hey, and that brings me such joy. When I go home or whatever, thinking, I got you guys. It's just, I have time to sit and talk because I'm wearing so many hats, but I come in and I go, wow, Mario's showing up. Lewis is always here. Apple's back. He's left 2 or 3 times. Rich is hung in there. Mike and Gerald, street dogs out there really letting our presence know outside of this space.
That's
and
right.
I'm all pumped up about Thursday, going out in the worst of times, but going out there, making our drop, getting back safe, cleaning up and say, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to get out of your cell phone or, stop doing,
Right.
what do you call
Yeah.
it, face or
You snap out of
selfies
it.
or whatever,
Yeah.
and get unselfish and go out there and smell it and taste it. What you got to do, it's like basic training. You go,
Right.
wow, you're going to get a taste and, oh my God, blood, sweat, and tears. And the millennials and whatever's below them has somehow got to get baptized into interacting with fellow man.
We gotta
Yes.
get out there. We gotta get out there.
Interacting.
We gotta interact with people.
As far as for the veterans, this is affecting
Yeah.
the veterans. We get calls coming in,
Yeah.
and veterans are uptight. They're hyper vigilant.
They're stressed out.
They are stressed out.
Their anxiety's off through the roofs. Their depression is like,
I've got a little anxiety and I'm a little depressed about all of this. I can definitely appreciate it. On a natural anxiety, depression, but when you think of those that are severe PTSD, brain injury, all they're already in a bad state, and then we add the virus, and then we add riots.
Right.
and
That's a lot to
oh my
consume.
God! No wonder suicides are up at all levels, particularly ours.
Right.
I think a couple of hurricanes are coming our way too, right? In Florida, I just read
Yeah,
that.
I believe so. That's
Man.
another hit.
So when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, but we are getting. I don't think we're getting stronger as a nation. I think we're getting weaker. And there are old fogies like me and people a little older saying, "Hey, we miss the old times." What was it about the old times? It was simple and it was more camaraderie. Yeah, there were still a lot of these issues, but it wasn't murdering and killing and stuff. We kind of looked like in the 60s and 70s after the Vietnam War, and then corporate got into it, and then they got greedy, and then here we're all paying all of our money into the taxes so they can be in another world. And so that segregation of society is expanded, and I'm just happy that we're taking the time today to talk about this because of our tribal and our unit and what we do in here. And I think what we have to say carries a lot more weight than the people on the outside that are just watching it on TV and making comments, analytical comments. Oh, this, or the blacks shouldn't be upset. Where are the Mexicans? And where, and you know, it's all hypothetical. Nobody's out there really going, you know, let me see how it really is.
Right.
It's like, you know, walk a mile in my shoes, criticize and accuse, but walk a mile in my shoes.
Right.
Love that old song from the late '60s.
That's perfect.
And it's you know, and that's why I'm so pumped about Thursday, and you know, we've put it out there in social media to help us build this into a big thing. The probabilities there won't be a big response, but we did it, we showed it, it's going to be documented, and hopefully we'll spark a fire of learning and interacting and integrating with each other so we can learn.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait till Thursday either. Who knows what we could come across now? Because
But it's like in combat. You go out there, you know, you have a sort of a game plan, and then you're constantly adapting, you know, improvising, and that's really what we really have to do in life. I mean, actually, we do that all the time, but it's in a big way when we hit the streets
Right.
like that, and we go from us that we have protection and security, and we go and we just mask up, and we go out into all of that chaos and try to spread the word, whatever, you know, that is that we do.
Because this can happen to anyone. Being homeless, it's not
yeah,
it doesn't pick and choose.
there's
It just-
vulnerability out there
yeah.
though, for sure. There's vulnerability. Sorry about that.
Well, I just like to say, hey, this was great. I like these kind of discussions. Maybe there's a way we can format it. I will email you the wrap today.
Okay.
And we'll see where it goes.
Definitely.
So here
Sounds
it
like
is,
a plan.
June 2nd, 2020 on a Tuesday. And we gave it our best 22 minutes and 30 seconds.